What's going on, guys? Coltamush back at it with another video. Ever since I uploaded my first full setup PC build about 3 weeks ago, I've been getting a lot of requests to do them more often. So here's a $650 full setup gaming PC. Now this isn't the highest end PC in the world, but you can do some decent 1080p gaming. And if you're playing games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, games like that, lower key titles, Heroes of the Storm, you'll be perfectly fine. You can play games like that and do some higher end games as well. Play games like Witcher 3 at 1080p at around high settings and still get 35, 40, 45 frames per second. So without further ado, let's get right into this build with the CPU. I went with the AMD Athlon X4 860K 3.7 GHz quad-core processor. Now yes, it is an AMD CPU for only $75, but it is a quad-core CPU, and it's the 860K, which is clocked at 3.7 GHz. This obviously isn't the highest end quad-core in the world. When you compare the 860K's price to, say, a Intel Core i5, you can see that the price difference is really big. But still, for this kind of price point, for $75, it's still a solid quad-core CPU to go with. And especially nowadays, with a lot of games taking advantage of having 4 physical cores, going with an X4 860K for this cheap of a price makes a lot of sense. Now, as far as doing things like video editing, rendering, live streaming, you can still do that, but don't expect to live stream a game like The Witcher 3 and get great performance. That's not going to happen. But if you're live streaming games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, games like that, you'll be fine. And with this CPU, it's at a low enough price point where you do get to save some money and you get to put a better video card in this build. So I thought the 860K was all around a pretty good option in this build. For the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte GA-F2A88XM-D3H Micro ATX motherboard. Yes, it is a Micro ATX motherboard, but at this kind of a price point, that really doesn't matter. It's got all the features you want with 4 RAM slots, up to DDR3 2133 memory, and up to 64 gigabytes of max memory. It's got RAID support and 8 SATA 60 ports, and it's also got onboard USB 3 headers. This motherboard also comes with the BIOS updated out of the box, so the 860K is going to work just fine without you needing another CPU to update it. So for $65, this was a budget-end motherboard that's going to get the job done, and that's really what you want in a budget-end build, so you can save money and, like I said, put that towards the graphics card. But this is still a solid Gigabyte motherboard, and Gigabyte has a really good warranty policy as well, so just a solid motherboard all around for $65. For RAM, I went with Corsair Vengeance 8GB 24GB sticks running at DDR3 1600MHz for around $44. 8GB of RAM is the perfect amount of RAM to have. Honestly, even if you're building a higher end PC like an $800 or $1,000 PC, 8GB is always going to be the amount I recommend for a gaming build. Especially in a budget like this, you might be tempted to go with a 4GB option, but 8GB is so cheap, it's only $44, and it just improves your gaming performance dramatically in some games like Battlefield 4, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. A lot of the newer titles really take advantage of having 8GB of RAM. And for this kind of price point, you really can't go wrong, but like I said, the motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, so if you do want to go for even more than 8GB of RAM, that's something you can take advantage of in the future. For now, I would just get 8GB. That's going to be perfectly fine for all your games. For the hard drive, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB hard drive for $50. This is a pretty good quality 1TB hard drive for a reasonable price. If you guys do want more than a terabyte of storage, I've been touting the Seagate drives. You can get 2 or 3 terabyte drives for pretty cheap prices nowadays. So if you do want more than a terabyte, maybe look into some of the Seagate options out there. And as far as an SSD goes, SSD prices are coming down, but I don't think it's at a point where you can include it in a budget and PC like this. I think most of you guys would prefer the mass storage that the Caviar Blue offers, so I went with that. If you're the kind of person that you think you can get by with a 120GB SSD, by all means go with that, and in the future you'll be able to pick up a mechanical drive if you do think 120 gigs isn't enough. That choice I will leave up to you guys. I just personally think start out with the mechanical drive. You're gonna get a lot of storage for only $50, but like I said, I'll leave that choice up to you guys. For the video card, I went with the XFX Radeon R9 283GB double dissipation video card for $195. So I was able to fit an R9 280 in this build, and a 3GB model at that. And the R9 280 is an awesome GPU for the price. It's a very good entry-level 1080p gaming video card. You can play most of the newer releases like Witcher 3, Dying Light, Battlefield 4, and upcoming games like Star Wars Battlefront and Fallout 4, and still play them at high settings and still get 45, 50 frames per second. Some of the lower end games, obviously, you're going to get even more frames out of. I just use The Witcher 3 as the benchmark because that is one of the harder games to run, but I don't imagine Fallout 4 is going to be that hard to run, so you'll probably be good with that. And even Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 is much easier to run than a game like The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And obviously, if you're playing games like League of Legends, World of Warcraft, those games are going to be a breeze on the R9 280. Also, at a lot of retailers, the R9 280 comes packed in with a free copy of Dirt Rally, which, like I've said in previous videos, I have not played Dirt Rally, but a lot of my subscribers have, and they said it's a really fun off-road racer, so I'll take their word on it. But a free game with a sick GPU like the R9 280, it's a pretty good value for a 1080p gaming card. For the power supply, I went with the EVGA 600W 80 plus bronze certified ATX power supply for around $50. Went with the EVGA 600W, no reason to go with something higher because you're not going to go for a crossfire configuration in this build, so you might as well get enough wattage to power what you have. And I like to have a little bit of headroom as well, so the EVGA 600W for $50 was a good option in this build. Not overly expensive, but still gives you decent wattage, and this is a pretty good quality power supply. For the case, I went with the NZXT Source 210 Elite Black ATX mid-tower case. I like the black color better, but this comes in black or white, so just pick the color of your preference. The Source 210 Elite is a pretty basic case as far as aesthetic goes. It does have front USB 3 headers, which is always nice, and it comes at a very cheap price of $40. So this is the perfect kind of case I would go for in a build like this. It's not too expensive, it's only $40, and it's gonna do everything you want, and in my opinion, I think the Source 210 aesthetically, yes, it's a basic design, but I think it looks pretty good. Like I said, it comes in black or white. I prefer the black one, but I'll leave that choice up to you guys as well. So overall, the Source 210 is a great budget end case that I would highly recommend. Moving on to peripherals, we're going to start with the monitor. I went with the Acer G226HQL 21.5-inch 1920 by 1080p monitor. So this is a 1080p monitor for only $100. Yes, it's 21.5-inch. I know some of you guys would prefer to have a 23-inch monitor, but in my opinion, I have a 21.5-inch monitor, and I find that perfectly fine to game at a 1080p resolution. If you guys do want the 23-inch monitor, it is available for $20 more than the 21.5-inch. The 21.5-inch is $100, the 23-inch is $120. Now, the one thing this monitor is lacking is the input. It only has one DVI and one VGA, no HDMI ports, but for a monitor like this, it's super cheap at $100, and I really wanted to get a monitor that was 1080p, but still very cheap, and at $100, you really can't do better than this. For keyboard and mouse, I recommended this last time. I'm going with the Cooler Master Storm Devastator. This gives you the keyboard and the mouse, and I just wanted something super cheap for a build like this at only $650, and you're getting everything in. You do have to make sacrifices in some areas, and the keyboard and the mouse at this low of a budget, I would not spend over like $120 on the two. So I thought, get the CM Storm Devastator. If you do want to upgrade in the future, you always can, but for now, I think you guys should just spend the $25 and get the Cooler Master Storm Devastator to keep you guys occupied. And for a lot of people, you're going to be gaming on third-party titles on a Xbox 360 or an Xbox One controller, so that's not too big of a problem anyway. And you can still game with the Cooler Master Storm Devastator. It's not like you're going to be crippled hard by using this keyboard and the mouse, but if you are the kind of guy that plays a lot of Counter-Strike or plays a lot of League, it would pay you dividends if you do upgrade to something better in the future. But still, this is a decent starting option, and it's not like the mouse or the keyboard is this uber low quality, this piece of shit. This bundle actually has very good reviews on Amazon, so check it out for only $25. Finally, for the operating system, I'm going to recommend the same thing that I did last time. Pick up a CD key for Windows 8 on G2A or on Reddit on r/Microsoft Software Swap. You can pick up a key for like $25 to $30, and then if you just acquire the files for Windows 8, you'll be good to go. I don't think at a budget anybody should really be spending $100 on the operating system. You gotta find shortcuts at budgets like this, and I really don't have a problem with doing that. So that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did like this video, as always, leave a like. These videos take a little bit longer to produce, so I definitely do appreciate the feedback. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out!